Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from our sponsor. Daily Compliance News for September 10, 2022, Captain Hazelwood Dies edition. And we begin with that story from a name long ago, but who has influenced compliance perhaps as much as anyone in a very unintended way. That is Joseph Hazelwood, the former captain, who was the captain of the tanker Exxon Valdez and who was alleged to have been drunk in his cabin when the ship ran aground off the icy waters of Prince William Sound in March 1989, dumping at least 10 million gallons of crude oil in perhaps the worst environmental disaster in the United States. Why is Captain Hazelwood so significant to compliance? Here is the reason. Exxon, which was the owner of the boat which ran aground, made a commitment to safety after this accident and changed the entire culture of the petrochemical industry and the energy industry to make safety number one priority. And Exxon's leadership really spilled down to every other company, and safety today is much more advanced than it was in 1989 and much more embedded in the culture. Those same concepts that safety use are equally important in compliance, which is the commitment to compliance, the communications around compliance, and demanding compliance up and down your supply chain. So in many ways, Captain Joseph Hazelwood and the Exxon Valdez is a key linchpin in the expansion of compliance. From the Wall Street Journal, Risk and Compliance Journal, Mingy Sun reporting, the head trader of the crypto platform Empires X has pled guilty to a $100 million fraud scheme. He was defrauded the investors and is one more black eye for crypto. Next up from the Washington Post, the floods in Pakistan and in India have driven home how climate change and corruption are intertwined, so that when corrupt developers make bribe payments to purchase land and get permits to build in areas that are flood prone, this is a big driver of a lot of the problems of flooding, particularly in the era of climate change and increased rains. It's certainly been a problem in Texas and in other states in the United States. And finally, from the Department of Justice, a former Puerto Rican legislator was sentenced to 57 months in prison for engaging in a bribery and kickback scheme. He was also ordered to pay $190,000 in restitution. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I hope you'll join us again on Monday, September 12th, for the next weekday edition of the Daily Compliance News. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.